China's debt trap diplomacy is a strategy used to extend its influence and secure strategic advantages by providing loans and investments to developing countries, often under terms that are difficult to repay. This mechanism enables China to gain control over key assets and resources in these countries, furthering its economic and political agenda. Here is an in-depth explanation of how China's debt trap works. 1. Infrastructure financing. China offers attractive infrastructure financing deals to developing nations in need of financial assistance. These deals come in the form of loans or investments, often provided through institutions such as the China Development Bank and the Export-Import Bank of China. The financing is typically tied to large-scale infrastructure projects that promise to boost the recipient country's economy and development. 2. The Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. China's debt trap diplomacy is mainly conducted through the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, a massive infrastructure development project aimed at connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa. Launched in 2013, the BRI seeks to build ports, railways, roads, airports, and industrial parks in over 60 countries, creating a network of trade and investment that ultimately benefits China. Many of the countries participating in the BRI are particularly vulnerable to China's debt trap due to their high debt-to-GDP ratios and weak economic fundamentals. 3. Unsustainable debt burdens. While the financial assistance provided by China might seem beneficial at first, many recipient countries often find themselves struggling to repay the loans. This is due to high interest rates, opaque loan terms, and the inclusion of conditions that favor Chinese firms and workers. As a result, recipient countries end up with unsustainable debt burdens, which can lead to economic instability and decreased sovereign control. 4. Asset seizures. When recipient countries default on their loans or are unable to repay them, China may seize control of strategic assets as collateral. This can include ports, airports, power plants, or land, effectively turning the debtor countries into strategic outposts for China. Such asset seizures not only undermine the country's sovereignties but also allow China to extend its economic, political, and military influence in the region. 5. Political leverage. China's debt trap diplomacy also provides it with political leverage over recipient countries. As these countries become increasingly dependent on Chinese funding, they are more likely to support China's political objectives and align their policies with those of Beijing. This can manifest in various ways, such as voting in favor of China in international forums, supporting Chinese territorial claims, or adopting a pro-China stance on global issues. 6. Economic dependence. The debt trap strategy also fosters economic dependence on China, as the recipient countries often rely on Chinese loans, investments, and trade to sustain their economies. This dependence can lead to an erosion of domestic industries, as Chinese firms outcompete local companies and dominate the market. Additionally, the reliance on Chinese financing can make it difficult for these countries to diversify their economies and reduce their vulnerability to external shocks. 7. Negative environmental and social impacts. Many of the large-scale infrastructure projects financed by China under the BRI have been criticized for their negative environmental and social impacts. These projects often involve land grabbing, displacement of local communities, and deforestation, as well as labor and human rights violations. Moreover, the lack of transparency and accountability in the project implementation process exacerbates these issues, making it difficult for local stakeholders to voice their concerns or seek redress for grievances. 8. Pushback and criticism. China's debt trap diplomacy has faced increasing pushback and criticism from the international community. Some countries have renegotiated loan terms, suspended or canceled projects, or sought alternative sources of financing to reduce their dependence on Chinese funds. Additionally, initiatives such as the United States Blue Dot Network and the European Union's connectivity strategy have emerged as alternatives to the BRI, aiming to promote sustainable, transparent, and inclusive infrastructure development. Conclusion. In conclusion, China's debt trap diplomacy is a strategic tool used to expand its influence and secure strategic advantages by providing loans and investments to developing countries that struggle to repay them. This mechanism enables China to gain control over key assets and resources, exert political leverage, and foster economic dependence, all while posing significant environmental and social risks. As awareness of the debt trap's implications grows, it is crucial for the international community to work together in promoting responsible and transparent lending practices and supporting the sustainable development of infrastructure projects worldwide.